Hello and welcome to the United Stand. How are we all doing? Ole Gunnar Solskjaer looks like he's going to get a Manchester United transfer boost over the next couple of weeks as Manchester United look to bring players in before we exit to Australia on July the 7th to start the tour of Australia and everywhere else we're going to go. So a little bit of positivity there. Now it's contrasted by a bit of negativity, and there's always two sides to a story. Let's talk about Wan-Bissaka first. Last night we had Duncan Castles saying it was a done deal at 55 million. This lunchtime we had somebody else saying it's a done deal at 55 million. And then this afternoon, it's close again. I think the feeling with Manchester United is that Wan-Bissaka could actually fly back from the England under-21s in Italy over the next week, complete his deal, because even the England under-21 manager, Adi Boothroyd, has said that he feels that, you know, maybe he's a little bit distracted. And it's a big move for him, isn't it? So hopefully that will get done. And I would expect it to be done in the next 48 hours. I think so much and so many people are saying it's going to happen. Interestingly, at Sky Cave, who is the guy who's been talking about all these Rybacks and was talking about Wan-Bissaka right at the start of June, he's tweeted out and said, actually, the last bid from United was rejected. There's no bid been accepted yet. I think there is going to be a bid. I think maybe you've got the deal between Crystal Palace and Manchester United, and now you've got the arguments between the journalists who want to be first on it. And it probably is pissing the Sky guy off a little bit because he was first with it, and now you've got people jumping in going, it's done. So he's not getting all the glory. But by the by, I expect that to be done very soon. And then a lot of the press around Manchester United beyond the Wan-Bissaka thing is positive, with some people negative. Effectively, we're going to be looking at a midfielder next. That's the indication. Who that midfielder could be, hopefully it's going to be Bruno Fernandes. If you didn't watch the video this afternoon, really good video. Wan-Bissaka, Bruno Fernandes, heavily featured. Click the eye in the top right hand corner and go and watch that after this. But as I said at the start, there's also this story that Manchester United are confident that they will get a lot of their transfer business done by July the 7th. Of course, it's being knocked back by 7 days. Ollie wanted it done by July the 1st, but the reality is we go on tour on July the 7th, we fly out on July the 7th, so it gives us that extra week. And I do think that, look, I still firmly believe, I know there's this story from Mark Ogden in the SBN saying that United have only got £100 million to spend, and anything else beyond that they will have to generate themselves through sales, maybe from Lukaku, possibly from Pogba, which we'll talk about in a moment. But I don't believe that. I don't think Manchester United, in the position that they're in, Emmerdale Cup, 6th best team in the country, in disarray. We are going to be talking about Jesse Lingard as well, unfortunately. In disarray. They cannot just give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer 100 million. And if they are only giving him 100 million, it's flawed. It's a flawed argument. I think he's got 200 million. And I think he will get some more money if players leave. And the reason I think that, and I think it's there out for us, as much as we want to be negative and say, oh, it's a joke and this, that and the other, and there are elements to that, if we only had £100 million, he spent 15 million on Daniel James and he spent 50 million on Wan-Bissaka. That's 65 million. That leaves him 35 million to get a centre-back, 2 midfielders and a right winger. It's just not logical. And yeah, you know, we expect to sell Darmian and people like that, but 100 million is just not enough for what United need to do. So I think it's a story at a time to make people feel negative, and people already do feel negative. I don't believe United have only got £100 million to spend. And you know me, if there's something to moan about, I will do it. I don't like doing it, but I will. And there is something I want to sort of talk about in a moment, but I don't believe this story. We'll all find out on August the 8th. I keep saying this. You know, I almost think it's worth just always having that in the back of your head. When you're thinking about moaning about the transfer window, it's good to let it out, but ultimately, it's not like we're never going to know. We will know on August the 8th when the transfer window closes how much money we've actually spent, how much of that was from sales, how many players we've bought in. So we're going to know. Do you think Ed Woodward has a secret plan, says Daniel Gender? We'll come back to that. And Keane O'Brien, thoughts on a player like Miguel Almiron, skillful pace for days and super talented in my opinion. Think he'd fit nicely into what we should be building. Don't know anything about him, Keane. If I don't know anything about a player, I'll say it, because you could be making the name up for all I know. He's not somebody that's ever registered into me. Ed Woodward, I want to talk about that. Something that I think has come out today, and I think something that we're also aware of, is that one of the reasons Manchester United takes so long, and apparently one of Solskjaer's frustrations this summer, is because we always bid low. We always go too low. There's a rumour about Harry Maguire that we've offered 40 million, and it's way too low. Wan-Bissaka, apparently we offered 25 million with 15 million and add-ons, way too low. And you're almost wasting time. It's like when you want to buy your dream car, and the car's retailing price even second hand, is 10 grand, and you go to the owner and go, I'll give you 5 grand, they're never going to accept it. It gets their back up, and then you're negotiating up to something that you want to buy anyway. You're far better going, well, it's worth 10 grand, I'm going to offer 9. And they might go for it. But United apparently going in very low. Well, I think we've got the evidence of it. We've been doing it for years. Perisic, Alexandro, Daniel James deal took a long time. I know a lot of that was to do to sentimental reasons, but I think there was some negotiating with Swansea as well. Wan-Bissaka deal's taken a long time, and God knows what else. And I think that obviously would be a frustration for the manager because it holds everything back and causes an issue for what we're trying to achieve. But I do think once the Wan-Bissaka deal's out the way, United have only got a set bit of time, and I think what we're going to see now is, and I do genuinely believe that I know from speaking to somebody at Manchester United in May that United do want to spend money and they do want to bring quality players in. You can read that one or two ways, because it can be the old, yeah, we wanted to spend money but we couldn't get what we wanted, there's no value in the market. I'm totally aware of that. I'm not going to say to you they are going to spend 300 million. It could be the smoke screen as per usual. Well, we wanted a centre-back and we wanted De Ligt, but we couldn't get him, so we didn't get one. All that could happen, but the noises coming out of United are at least that they do want to spend money. And the second thing is, it's, they want to give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the best opportunity they can do, and the conversations have been had about the players that they need to get. And ultimately, I think they have wasted a lot of time so far, but they're going to have to speed up. Time stands still for nobody, and they will have to speed up. And I really genuinely think that that's going to happen. I've always said, I know people have said, I think we're only going to make 1 or 2 signings, and I've heard we're only going to make 1 or 2 signings, and I've heard that we've only got £100 million to spend. I don't, as I said, I'll be there with everybody else having a moan about things I feel that need moaning about, but I genuinely think we will sign at least 4 players, and I genuinely think we will spend closer to 200 million than 100 million, and we'll see. Imrano TV, don't worry, Mark Ogden is the worst writer ESPN have, which is a pretty hard thing to be, knowing ESPN. Whenever he shows his face on camera, he's so dull, pigeons fall out the sky asleep. Well, I don't know about that. He's got a profession at the end of the day, and, I don't really read a lot of it, but, our job is to talk about everything, isn't it? And give everyone a shot of the whip. Ryan Don says, hey Mark, seen loads of people complaining we haven't sold Jones, Young, etc., forgetting that would require a team to want to sign them and pay their wages. Look, Ryan, you're right. We were never going to sell Jones and Young or Smalling, because we've just bloody given them new contracts. Pablo Mendes says, I know you don't like to judge players playing on international, but do you think the Copper could help Alexis turn it around? I mean, this is very interesting, Pablo. I want to bring this in about Alexis Sanchez. I was reading something today. Whether it's true or not, you never know in the transfer window. But I think whether this story's true, the overarching story's true. And that is that, I think it was Palmeiras in Brazil, one of the richest clubs in Brazil, had tentatively approached Manchester United about Alexis Sanchez and turned around straight away when they heard about how much he's paid, because they can't afford him. And this is a problem with Alexis Sanchez. Everyone's got a player that winds them up at the moment. We'll be talking about Jesse in a moment, but everyone's got a player. It could be Ashley Young, could be Phil Jones, could be Matic. Alexis Sanchez is the one player that winds me up the most at Manchester United, and it's not really anything to do with him. He's a flop. He is a factual flop. He is a total flop. He is the best paid player in the Premier League, and he is a flop. That's a fact. I'll argue that with anybody. It's been too long, 18 months, and he's done sod all on 400 grand a week. He is a flop. Can he turn it around? Is he 30 now? Is he 30 in December? I don't know. I don't think he can. I've seen him in real life, not just on the telly. I've watched him in real life. When the ball's at the other end of the pitch, I've watched his movement, and he's nothing like what he was at Arsenal. So for me, he's lost a yard of pace. He's only going to decline further. He's had a few injuries in his career. I think he's not going to ever be the Alexis Sanchez we thought we were buying, because you can't get a yard of pace back. And as I said this before, I remember the game where he got injured. I think it was, what was the game where Pereira scored that goal? Southampton, wasn't it? They played really well. Sanchez went off injured, but Pogba a couple of times played in these really good balls. Rashford and Martial would have been onto it. Sanchez read the run, but couldn't get there quick enough, and Pogba was frustrated. And that's the problem. When you lose a yard of pace, your brain's willing, but your body ain't giving. So international football is so different to Premier League football. He's finished at Manchester United, but he might not be finished, if that makes sense. We need to get rid of him, but the problem is, as I said, with that Palmeiras story, there are people who would take Alexis Sanchez. He's got a good reputation, But there's minute they inquire and they find out he's on 400 grand a week and we want money for him as well as a transfer fee. It negates everything. How do you remove a player like that from the club? Philip Burtonwood, who will we get in, Mark? What's your gut feeling? And do you not think getting a right back is a priority? Well, I've said this before. I don't think that a right back was my priority. I think a centre back, midfielder, and right winger were my priority. But bringing a right back in is very exciting, and I certainly would have put right back in the top 5 positions to strengthen. I mean, to be honest with you, it's the Daniel James signing that's good but weird. We didn't need another left winger, I don't think, but it's great to have him. Wan-Bissaka at right back is a good signing. I mean, it means no more Ashley Young, and he's a very good defensive right back, which none of ours are. You know, Valencia wasn't good defensively. Young's terrible defensively, and Delo is better going forward than he is going backwards. And I said this afternoon, you know, I'm a big fan of Luke Shaw. So when you've got Wan-Bissaka, I think United, probably for the first time since Gary Neville retired, we've got 2 fullbacks with balance and talent. And people will say, well, we won the title in 2012, but, you know, Evra was coming towards the end of his career then. I remember Evra used to get so much stick because he'd go forward but wouldn't track back. And I always liked Evra, but he used to get a lot of stick. So I'm excited that the fullback situation is solved, and it is an important position. It wouldn't have been my priority, but I still would have strengthened there. But we might not be doing it in order anyway. We might, you know, as long as we do get the centre-back, the midfielder and the right winger, I'll be happy. And on that, we've spoken about this so many times, I still get people saying, oh, can we promote, can we move Delo into a right wing position? Well, of course we can, but I'm fed up of that. I'm fed up of the square pegs in round holes. We're not Stoke City. We're Manchester United. We don't need to be turning a right back into a right winger. Go and buy a specialist right winger. There's plenty out there. You could give me 5 names now. I'll give you 5 names. You know, you could even get Gareth Bale. You can get Irving Lozano. You could get Bergwijn. You could get Pepe. You could get Leon Bailey. You could get Douglas Costa. And that's just off the top of my head. You know, there's loads of right wingers out there, and they're all available for around 40 to 50 million quid. Go and get a right winger. Please do not play Delo there, but I think we probably will. I even had somebody say to me this afternoon, get Delo to play there for a season while we wait for Jadon Sancho. And I'm like, who are we? What are we? Bloody Everton? Oh, let's just make do for a season and hang around mid-table until we get Sancho next year. Next season can't be a write-off. We've written off 6 already. Next season's got to be the best it can be. I don't want to make do for a year for Sancho, who probably won't come anyway because he'll go to Real Madrid or Barcelona next year. No, I don't want to do that. I want us to go and buy a right winger. We're Manchester United. We're bloody loaded. Go and buy a right winger, for God's sake. It needs to be done. Who will we get in, Mark? Well, I think that, just to go back to what Philip said, I still firmly believe Bruno Fernandes. I feel we're justified in what we've been saying for 3 months, that Manchester United are after Bruno Fernandes and have been for a long time. That story came out again today. I think we'll get Bruno Fernandes. I don't know who the other midfielder is going to be. I don't know who the right winger is going to be. And at this moment in time, I don't know who the centre-back is going to be. So it is exciting as well as nervy. But that's the best thing, isn't it? It's like waking up on Christmas Day morning when you don't know what you want. You don't know what you're going to get. But you know your parents are loaded. Are they going to spend it? Are they going to surprise you with a few really good presents? Or are they going to be arseholes and buy a pair of socks and save the money for themselves? That's the parents. That's the Glazers, isn't it? We don't know what we're waking up to. But we do need those positions. And I do think that we will get them as well. I mean, Pogba comes into this a little bit, doesn't he? Pogba does come into this. Sky Sports, I think, were saying today that Manchester United are realistic to the fact that Paul Pogba will need to be sold. I'm not so sure. I think they do need to sell him. I don't know where you lot feel about this, but I think Manchester United do need to sell Paul Pogba. And I think Paul Pogba's stance is that he said that he wants to go and he expects the club to respect that. I think they need to, because what will happen with Paul Pogba is, unless they can change his mind and make him happy again, which they can't, I don't think they can, he might stay because they're saying we're not going to sell you, but then he's never going to sign a new contract. His value is going to depreciate. I think Paul Pogba's a player that plays on his emotion anyway. And if you've got an unhappy Paul Pogba at United, you know, I think we'll get some good performances next season, but I still don't think we'll get the consistency. And next summer, he will be a year on from now, and he might decide to force the move, and we'll get less money for him. So, I understand why United want to keep him, but sometimes, you know, you might want to buy a player and you can't get them, and sometimes you might want to keep a player and you can't keep them. And I think United do need to be realistic. I also think as well, one of the reasons Manchester United are desperate to keep Paul Pogba is because they know how slow they've been in this transfer window. And I think that even if Pogba stayed, United would still try to bring 2 midfielders in because they need to replace Fellaini and Herrera. Even if Pogba stayed, of course, if Pogba goes, it's another job they've got to do to sell him, and it's a big job because it's a massive transfer. It would be the signing of the summer, and then I think it would be a bigger deal than Hazard. Yes, I do. And answering my own question there. And also, you've then got to get a replacement in. Well, look. How many weeks is it until July the 7th? Is it 2 weeks? 2 weeks on Sunday, something like that? You've got to get a centre-back, a right winger, 2 midfielders. You've got to sell Lukaku. You've also got to sell Darmian. And then you've got to sell Pogba and then buy a Pogba replacement all by July the 7th. It really isn't going to happen. And that's why I think United are so desperate to keep Pogba. It's not going to happen. It's the 20th of June. You've got 17 days till we go on tour. And you want to get a centre. Well, you want to get Wan-Bissaka done first. That's one. You want to get a centre back, 2 midfielders, a right winger, sell Lukaku, sell Darmian. That's 7 deals in 17 days. We won't even do those. But then on top of that, sell Pogba, the biggest transfer of the summer, and replace Pogba. 9 transfers in 17 days. It ain't going to happen. Something's got to give. And I think that's why United are desperate to keep Pogba, because that takes 2 deals off. Selling him and replacing him, that you're down to 7. But I still think 7's unachievable in 17 days. We haven't even got the Wan-Bissaka deal done yet. So there's more stress and pressure and confusion and excitement to come for definite. And I do think that we'll be wandering into the tour trying to do deals. But the interesting thing is, and I haven't really looked at this properly, and I'll probably get some people in the live comments who have. I mean, my point was going to be, when does Copa America finish? When does the African Nations Cup of Nations finish? Because there might be targets that we're looking at from that we'll just wait until that's over. And I think the African Cup of Nations, I always get it wrong. The African Nations Cup, I'm going to call it, or the African Cup of Nations, it probably is. I imagine that goes on until the back end of July, and I think the Copa America goes till the middle of July. So, if you're getting players from there, I suppose, yeah, it's interesting. Chloe Jenkins, I worry that Ollie has took Giggs' advice that James can play left, right or centre, and that's why we're not getting a right winger. Logically, you probably hit the nail on the head there, Chloe. Maybe we are looking at James as a right winger, but the problem with that is, he's a championship player. He used to play for Swansea. It was his breakthrough season, and you want to put him on our right wing. It's just not fair to throw him straight in. So United need a Pepe. They need a Bernardeschi. They need a Douglas Costa. They need a Hirving Lozano. They need a first team right winger. That's what they need. Someone who comes straight in with a pedigree. That's what we need. Pablo Mendez says, even if Pogba is doing all this for more money, he needs to go. That's not the attitude we need at the club. Cash out now and replace him before he goes for free. Well, there's a combination question there, isn't there, Pablo? We're talking about somebody who's pissed people off, Paul Pogba, and we're talking about right wing, and it would be wrong for us not to talk about Jesse Lingard, who has Pogba's very happy with Jesse Lingard, I would imagine, because he's taken away all the pressure off Pogba. I mean, Pogba comes out on Sunday, says he wants to leave, basically, and by Tuesday, Jesse Lingard is disliked more than Paul Pogba because of what he's doing on holiday. I mean, I don't want for me, a lot of people say it's what they do on the pitch, and to be honest with you, look, I'm going to say, anybody who watches the United stand will know I've never been convinced by Jesse Lingard. Never. I've sort of been a bit up and down, but I've always been consistent that he's a bench player. He's not a first team player in a team that's trying to win the title, and obviously I've been proved right with that. He isn't a first team player for Manchester United if you want to win the league. He's a first team player if you want to battle for 6th. He's not a first team player if you want to win the league. Now, for me, what somebody does off the pitch it isn't irrelevant, and the world is a very different world now. But I do want to talk to people about this, because is Lingard ignorant or stupid? Can't decide, says Ryan FTW. Sorry, I've got something stuck up my nose at the moment. Is Lingard ignorant or just stupid? I can't decide, says Ryan FTW. Well, look, Jesse Lingard is a human being, right? Whether he's 27 acting like he's 17 or not, people can be quite immature. Age is just a number. I'm into my late 30s and I act like I'm 15 at times. I do. I am quite immature at times. So I do empathise with that. He's a human being, and I think you've got to be very, very careful about driving hate and abuse and effectively bordering on bullying. I don't like that. And he is a human being, and whatever you think about him, I'm sure he's not liking the abuse he's getting. Having said that, I mean, during the Munich anniversary, he tweeted something out right in the middle of it. Now, apparently that was his team who did that, not him, I believe him. He also put his logo on the Manchester bombing anniversary poster. He has done countless silly videos, beans, which I can't get out of my head. And then the one last night where he's in a hotel room, going through everyone's room, looked like he was on something, probably drink, swearing and being an absolute prat. I've done things where I'm a prat. I've done the streams where I'm coming home from a night out drunk. But I don't play for Manchester United. I'm not a role model to millions and millions, and I'm not on massive money, and I'm not the face of Manchester United Football Club. And that is where I would say, is Jesse Lingard doing it on purpose, ignorant, or just stupid? I don't know, but I know he's a multimillionaire, and I know he's got a brand team behind him, and that brand team needs sacking. Because whoever is in charge of Jesse Lingard, he needs somebody in charge of him. He should not be able to pick his phone up when he bloody well likes, pissed or whatever, and just go, boom, I'm Snapchatting, or I'm Instagramming, or I'm tweeting to the whole fucking world. That is not on. It isn't on. You imagine you imagine bloody Gordon Ramsay on a bad night. Does he pick his phone up and start telling everyone to F off? There's a filter there, and you need to have that filter. And I agree with people who say he's just on holiday having a great time with Marcus Rashford, because he appeals, to some people they love what he does. But I also agree with the other people who say it's a bloody embarrassment. And the problem is, I'm aware of this, if you upload a video of something you're doing in your private life or whatever, you cannot expect everyone to like it. And if you get some negativity, you can't moan about it. And people who like you cannot moan about it and say to the people who think he's a dickhead, oh, leave him alone, he's just on holiday having a good time. No, he's not just on holiday having a good time though, is he? Because he's putting it out in the public arena for everybody to see, and when you do that, you want a reaction. And if the reaction doesn't go your way, it's your own bloody fault for putting it out there. But, like I say, I feel sorry for him in a way, because whether he's a plonker or not, Paul Gascoigne was one of my role models growing up. I absolutely loved him because he was a brilliant, brilliant footballer. But he was an absolute idiot with drink. And I think in today's world, he'd be doing worse than what Lingard's doing. I mean, there was the thing in Hong Kong before Euro 96 where he's in the dentist chair getting all this drink and everything like that. He was an absolute clown, but he was an amazing footballer. So I actually do sympathise with Lingard in some ways, but he's got a team around him, and they should be looking after him and telling him not to do this. And if he's doing it with against their will, then the club need to be reprimanding. I think the club need to reprimand him anyway. Manchester United Football Club is being dragged through the gutter because of this kid. And it's not good for us. It's not good for our football club to have that. It isn't. And Manchester United need to make a stand. And everyone said, oh, Mourinho's an idiot. But Mourinho really did stamp out the social media stuff. But since Mourinho's gone, everybody just seems to be doing what they bloody well like. And there seems to be this attitude from Solskjaer and everyone, oh, I'm not bothered about that as long as they're doing it on the pitch. Well, they're not doing it on the pitch anyway. And that's why people are annoyed as well. The thing with Jesse Lingard is to bring it back to the pitch, because that's where it's the most important. Whether you like what he's doing off the pitch or not, he really is a Manchester United football player, and that's where he should be judged. I think he's been crap for over a year. I think he's been really bad. So I get confused by this footballer who's bad on the pitch, but then off the pitch he's acting like he's Messi Lingard. As a brand, it's amazing interactions, but it doesn't match the footballer on the pitch either. I think United need to do something about it. I think he needs to stop it completely. And he probably won't want to do that because he's got his brands and he's young and he loves social media, so he probably won't want to do it, but United need to stop him doing it. For the sake of Manchester United Football Club, they need to stop him doing it, because it just gives fans who are pissed off a reason even more to be pissed off. Should they put him on the transfer list and sell him? Not for that, no. I mean, look, reprimand him, tell him not to do it anymore. I wouldn't sell him for what he's done in social media. I'd sell him for what he does on the pitch. And I'm not saying I would sell him, but what I'm saying is that's where he should be judged and whether you want to sell him or not. But I do think United have got to do something. Sanchez must have the most stupid contract ever. £400,000 a week and can only play on the left side. He could play behind the striker or on the right side, but he never does. So stupid, get him out. I mean, that's a great comment from Marius Larsson, because as we know, Alexis Sanchez only ever does play on the left wing for United. And actually, some of his best stuff has been on the right wing when he's got drifted to there. Mad Marcus, it's shameful that a character like Lingard represents United. Well, there you go. I mean, that's quite a strong opinion, isn't it? But there'll be people out there who absolutely love it. I'm not really here to start abuse against Lingard or bully him or anything like that. I don't want to see that. I just think Manchester United are the ones who need to take hold of this situation. But of course, then it comes back to transfers and everything, because do you trust Manchester United Football Club to be assertive and take control of a situation? We haven't done that for 6 years anywhere. We've not took hold of ourselves on the pitch and been assertive in the transfer window, in contract negotiations, in the managers we've chosen, in the players that we've chosen, in retention and recruitment. So do you have any confidence that they're actually even going to speak to Jesse Lingard about this? I don't. I actually don't. I think the club's in such a disarray. And that's not a negative thing. We know where we were last season. We know we've sacked another manager. We know we've got an inexperienced manager in. And do you think United, with everything they've got to be doing at the moment around transfers and selling players, they're going to be on the phone to Jesse Lingard saying, get off social media? I doubt it. I think he'll just be let to do it himself. And that's why the people round him, and he has got people round him, because he's selling clothes, he's got social media people, everything. Whoever's in charge of that need to get their act together, because at the moment the lad is destroying his image. So you need to get your act together and look after him. Another season of Lingard and Mata on the right, says Dark Assassin. Well, I said this last year and the year before. I said if Lingard and Fellaini play more than 30 games each, we won't finish in the top 4, and I was right. So I would say next season, if Ashley Young, Phil Jones, Jesse Lingard, Nemanja Matic, Wan Mata, if they all play over 20 games each in the Premier League, I think we'll struggle to finish top 4. Some of those players need to be hardly playing at all. That's, there's 5 there. I think a couple of them, I don't mind playing over 20 games. But if that 5 all play over 20 games for Manchester United, I don't think we'll make top 4. I really don't, because there's too much Deadwood hanging around. Adam Adil says, hopefully we replace Pogba before we sell him. Well, exactly. I think that is the most efficient thing that Manchester United need to do. I just want to come in at this point actually and say, please do smash a like on the video. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. We're on that road to 500,000 subscribers. We have got a date set for our United Stand get-together. It's going to be on August the 8th, which is a Thursday. That should ring a bell because it's the transfer window close. We are going to be doing some live streams. Some United Stand regulars will be up there, and we'll do like microphones and interaction with everybody, etc. We've got some special guests. It's probably it's going to be in Manchester or it's going to be in London. We're swaying towards Manchester, obviously, because it's Manchester United, but it might be in London just because it's more easy for people if they want to get to it, fly in, etc, etc. So that is looking like August the 8th, so keep your eye out for that. We will be putting an email address out soon for tickets and stuff. Tickets will be free. So we just, really looking forward to that. So make sure you subscribe, everything. But also, you might be aware that one of our United Stand members, Rance, who does the Flex and Rant show in the fan cams, he is in a boxing match next Saturday night, a week on Saturday night. A lot of you might be going, some of you might not. Anyway, if you can't go, the proceeds of the tickets, as a percentage of the proceeds of the tickets, are going to go to helping the homeless who are out on the streets. Now, they always get a lot of money and a lot of help in the winter because it's cold, but in the summer they don't get so much support. So there's a link in the video description for a Just Giving page. If you're not going to be at the boxing match, but you want to sort of make a contribution to that charity, the link is in the video description. It's GoFundMe. It's something Rance is doing. He's going to be in the ring next week. I mean, look, it's an embarrassing fight. What it is, it's Rance and DT don't like each other, but DT's son's going to be in the ring fighting Rance. So, whatever. That's not for me to say. But it is for a good cause, and do get in the link in the video description and contribute. I think he's trying to raise £1,000. They're up to about 250 quid already. So I'm sure we can help him do that. Thoughts on Victorious Jr. future signings, says Cameron Bauer. Absolutely no chance he'll come to United, although he is in my United FIFA team. Get on That's Football tomorrow at about 1:30. I'm going for the quadruple in my second season at Manchester United on Legendary, and I've got my first chance of silverware. I've got the Carabao Cup is the first game on the stream tomorrow. What are your thoughts on City reportedly being ahead of United to sign Maguire for 65 million? Apparently he wants to play for Pep. That's from Jack Wang. Doesn't surprise me, Jack. Doesn't surprise me at all. I've said this before, United might be interested in players, but the reality is if a better club comes for us, the player might choose that over us. All we've got is our name. All we've got is the name Manchester United. We don't have anything else. We don't have title prospects. We don't have Champions League football. We don't have a team that plays a certain way. We've got 6 years of instability. We're not a good club to go to other than the name Manchester United. So we might lose out to players. KIL_07. Don't see the good players joining till they see how Ole has us playing. January likely a much better window for us. I disagree. It's your opinion, mate. I've heard a few people talk about the January transfer window. I think the January transfer window is dead. It's a dead duck. It really is. You know it is. The January transfer window is the place where you pick up players who are not wanted by their club or are coming to the end of their contract, so the club wants a bit of money, like Alexis Sanchez. You don't go into January and say, right, we'll sign Koulibaly now, who's halfway through a season for Napoli. It doesn't happen. So I don't want to personally get into that conversation, because I think it's an excuse to say, oh, we might have to do business in the January transfer window. It doesn't happen like that. You don't get good targets in the January transfer window. When he rubs the money he makes in our faces and the season he has had, he deserves the abuse. In some sense, he is asking for it with these videos and he needs a reality check, says Ollie Marius Mo. I think he's talking about Jesse Lingard. And Scott Damsel says, Rooney as a captain hasn't been replaced. A strong captain wouldn't allow these players to act like they do. And that's from Scott Damsel. I don't think Rooney was a very good captain. I actually think Wayne Rooney was a very poor captain. And I think that was for two reasons. One, he was on the decline. Two, it made him responsible and he lost his fire. Wayne Rooney was a brilliant player because he was always on the edge and passionate and angry. And I think when he got the captain's armband, he had to become responsible and he lost a lot of his game. I never thought Rooney was that good. He's better than anything we've got at the moment. I'll agree with that. Chris Delargy says Lingard out. He is a disgrace and he is a child. Sean Kirk says Van Dijk was bought in January. He was. Do you want me to tell you the story behind that? He was bought in January. He threatened to go in September. He didn't actually play that much for Southampton and they sold him in the January. So, unique situation where a player wasn't happy and was forcing a move. Van Dijk, we've done that one. There's a couple of other Lukaku apparently has, well, this has been going on for a while, that he's agreed terms with Inter Milan. I don't know how that works, but he wants the deal done by July the 1st, Lukaku, because he doesn't want to come back to Manchester United and go pre-season training. He doesn't want to go on the tour. He wants to just go straight to Inter Milan, and he wants United to get it sorted. With Inter Milan, I think they're going to have to find the money, and I don't know how they're going to do that, because I think United want 60 million, and even that is an embarrassment. We only bought Lukaku 2 summers ago. We spent 90 million on him, 75 with add-ons, and them add-ons are rumoured to be up to 90 million. So he scored 28 goals in his first season. Last season, he had a bit of a mixed bag. But to be fair, remember them couple of goals he got against Palace? He got us back in the race for top 4. So he's a flat-track bully with no first touch, but he's a good Premier League striker. And we're going to take a £30 million hit on him in 2 years. That's embarrassing. So United need to get at least £60 million from that deal, because I don't think we're going to get Skriniar. I don't think we want Icardi, although I would take him. And we certainly don't want to be looking at people like Perisic or João Maria or Brozovic. So it's interesting that Lukaku wants that move, but how it's going to happen, I don't know. And yet, again, we spoke about this afternoon, I know, but I want to bring it in here because people might not watch this afternoon's show. Please do click the eye in the top right-hand corner after this and watch it, talking about Bruno Fernandes and Wan-Bissaka, which we haven't really done on this show tonight because of that video. But there was a part of that video where we were talking about the Bruno Fernandes story, and I won't give too much away, but effectively United have basically parked every other deal. Every other deal they're interested in has been parked because they're so focused on the Wan-Bissaka deal. Now, that concerns me because we're Manchester United Football Club, and that just shows you what a dictatorship we've got with transfers. Now, I don't know who's in charge of the transfers. There's talk of Ed Woodward and this guy called Much, who basically negotiate it. But if they can only do one deal at a time, we're in the shit. Because after the Wan-Bissaka deal, do we then go and work on the Lukaku deal? And then do we go and work on a centre-back? And then do we go to work for a midfielder? But it's July the 7th. Oh shit. We've only got, and that's the thing. We've got to multitask. You've got to multitask. Lukaku wants his move, but to be honest with you, Lukaku can wait. Lukaku can wait till August. I don't care. We've got to get our players in. I'm not bothered about Lukaku when he wants to go. We need to get our players in. Gerard Twomey says that Napoli apparently linked with Manolas. If true, can you see us splashing 100 million on Koulibaly? Well, I spoke about that on the Transfer Daily this morning, and there was links with Liverpool and Manchester City for Koulibaly. And one of the Italian papers were basically saying that Napoli would accept between 95 million and 105 million, which fits in with what I've been saying all along. Napoli aren't going to take 80 million, but I think Napoli would take 90. 90 million for Koulibaly or 80 million for Maguire, it's a no-brainer. But if Napoli are looking at Manlas, they might just be a bit of backup, or it could be. I've always suspected that Koulibaly changed his agent this season, having just signed a long contract with Napoli in, I think, September. He then changed his agent, and I think he changed his agent because he wants a move. I think Koulibaly wants to go. And maybe Napoli are manoeuvring themselves before they sell him to get a replacement in. And Manlas has got a release clause of about 35 million. Because I thought, for being a Mino Raiola client, I thought we might go for him. And I'm glad that we're not. So Koulibaly could become available, but he also could become available for other clubs because he's a very good defender. United want Koulibaly. Mourinho wanted him. And I always had the theory that we just kept that work on going to buy him this summer. And obviously in May, there was a lot of credible people saying that United are desperate to get to Koulibaly. And I spoke to somebody who basically said that, look, United want Koulibaly, but you can want a player, but if you can't get them because they're not going to be sold, there's nothing you can do. So that could develop, and I hope it does. But we'll have to wait and see. But of course, with Koulibaly, is there a rush to get him if we are getting him? Because he's in the African Nations Cup till the middle of July, so he probably wouldn't come in until just before the start of the season. So watch the space with the centre-back situation. Very quiet underlit, yeah, because we're not getting him. At this point, it doesn't matter who's in charge of transfers because it's all crap, says Pablo Mendes. There you go. Yeah. People have their say. I think we will play 4-2-2-2 and hence no right winger, says Bizwash. I'd be very surprised because United are a team, and Ollie knows this, that we're a wing team. We use the width. That's what United have always done, and we need to get back to that. So, and also, if you've done your homework on Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, his favoured formation is one with width. It's a 4-3-3. So, I would be very surprised if we did that. We might not buy one, but you know. David Mills says, I've just been watching some Longstaff videos. I like what I see. To be honest, I don't know much about him. You're probably in the same boat as me with Longstaff, David. I've only watched videos of him that you get on YouTube, and what I said is his passing ability and movement reminds me of Frank Lampard, and his tackling ability reminds me of Darren Fletcher. I'm not saying he's a combination of Lampard and Fletcher, because if he is, we better bloody buy him. But what I'm saying is, you can if you've never watched a player before, you can watch them. You watch their body movement, what they are like on the ball, and he just reminds me a bit of how Lampard moved on the ball and how Fletcher tackled. I'm not saying he's anything like those players. I'm sure he's not, but he looks like he could become a good player, and apparently we have scouted him. But the thing with Longstaff is, I think he's down the list anyway. I don't think he's the priority signing for United, and he shouldn't be really, because if we went into this transfer window and we bought Daniel James, Wan-Bissaka, Sean Longstaff, and I don't know, let me think of a centre-back who's quite inexperienced. I don't know, maybe a Ruben Diaz. You've got a very inexperienced 4 or 5 players bought there. Will De Gea go in this window, says Sam Pierce. We're strong favourites to sign James Maddison and Sean Longstaff. Think either of them will sign. I think Manchester United are strong favourites to sign a lot of players, Sam. We are. We're favourites to sign players you'd never think we're going to sign. Like, we're favourites to sign Icardi, and I don't think we're going to sign him. I don't think David De Gea is leaving Manchester United. I said this a few times now. I think De Gea will stay and Pogba will go. And that's contrary to what loads of top in-the-know people were saying. They were like, De Gea is definitely going, but Pogba will stay. I've been told by the club that Pogba's going to stay. Not me personally, but there are in-the-know people who've said, I've been told Pogba's going nowhere, but De Gea is going. I don't think that's the case at all. I think De Gea is going to stay and Pogba will go. Would love to see Lingard plus pounds for Maddison, says Ryan JJ. Look, the Lingard one's difficult. I mean, if he was gone, then that clown in the dressing room's gone, which is a positive. But I still do think that as a bench option, if he gets his head down and gets his game back in order, he's a decent bench option. But I don't think we'll sell him. I don't think if we did sell him, I wouldn't cry about it. I don't think we will sell him. But it's not been the best season for Jesse Lingard, and it's not been the best off season for him, has it? And as I said, the people around him are just giving him bad advice, unfortunately. Sal Bakari says, why Longstack when you've got Garner and McTominay? Yeah, good point, Sal. Good point. And Daniel Townsend says, Sancho is on holiday with Dele Alli. Our players should. I don't know what else he was going to say there, David Townsend, but Jadon Sancho is a player that Manchester United should go all out for, but I don't think we will. Paul Robinson says Lingard is an impact player at best. And thoughts on Benjamin Pavard rumours, says Golden Shamrock. Well, he's only just moved from somewhere anyway, hasn't he? Only moved a year ago. We're not going to be looking at him. We're not going to be looking at him as a right back. We'll sign Wan-Bissaka. We'll sign Wan-Bissaka. Do you think the Bruno Fernandes deal is being delayed because of James Maddison? That's from Yash Mallory. I don't think we're signing James Maddison. I don't. I wouldn't mind signing James Maddison, but I don't think we're signing him because this is where people are getting a little bit ahead of themselves. Leicester City don't need to sell. Leicester City have got a rich owner. Leicester City do not need to sell all their players. Leicester City are trying to build something for next year. Brendan Rodgers managed Celtic and won league title after league title after league title. He's come to Leicester because he wants to be successful at Leicester. You know, 8th is not what he wants. I think he wants to try and break into like 6th and something like that. So, and he's got a very good team. They don't need to sell their players. They only bought James Maddison a year ago. I don't think James Maddison leaves Leicester. I don't think they really want to sell Harry Maguire, but I think they will do to use the funds to bring in other players. So I think Leicester will sell one player. I don't think they're going to sell 2 or 3 of their good players. I mean, I'd like Ndidi. I would like James Maddison, but I don't see it happening. I don't. I think Harry Maguire will go, and I'd be very surprised if Leicester sell anybody else. I really would. We need another Roy Keane, says Mohammed. We bloody well do. We definitely do. Billy T says, watch the Maddison interview. It's interesting. I saw the Maddison interview, and he is a Manchester United fan. And I think, look, if you are James Maddison at Leicester, you probably do quite fancy a move to Manchester United. But he ain't. What I'm trying to say with that is I think James Maddison would like to come to United. And he may try and manoeuvre and move to Manchester United. But it's not going to happen, I don't think, because he's not Paul Pogba. And you could say the situation between Pogba and Maddison is very similar. They're both at clubs that don't want to sell them. They're both on long-term contracts. But the situation with Pogba is different because Pogba wants to go and play for one of the best teams in the world. And those teams can probably afford him. Manchester United, Maddison might say he wants to come to United. And Leicester might go, well, we don't want to sell you. But if we do, we want 80 million. United won't overpay for Maddison. I think Maddison might want to come to United. Leicester won't want to sell him. And United, therefore, won't pay the ridiculous money that Leicester want. So it won't happen. I really don't think it will happen, to be honest with you. Do I think United will sign Harry Maguire? I don't know, J-Day Plays. I don't know what's going to happen with the centre-back situation at United. I think it's really interesting. But I'll go back to what I said about 10 minutes into the show. It is June the 20th. We go on tour on July the 7th in 17 days, which is 2 weeks and a half. And it's not hard to go. We've still not done the right-back deal. We still haven't sold Lukaku. We haven't got a centre-back. We haven't got 2 midfielders. We haven't got a right winger. We haven't sold Darmian. That's 7 deals to do in 2.5 weeks. We've been working on Wan-Bissaka for 2 weeks. 1 deal. And you think we're going to do 7 in 2.5. And what if Pogba goes? 8 deals. 9 deals to replace him. That's the facts for you. 9 deals need to be done if Pogba goes. 7 if he doesn't. How are we going to get 7 deals done? Even by August, let alone in 2.5 weeks. So we've got to start motoring. And I think we are going to put our foot down. I think we will put our foot down. As soon as this Wan-Bissaka deal's done, I think we will put our foot down. But I still think we're going to finish the race without everything that we need. But I do think we'll get a number of players in. Anyway, welcome to the United Stand Members Club, Dreezy77. He's just clicked the join button and joined. Welcome, pal. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, everyone. Bottom right hand corner. Please do smash a like on the video. And if you want to support Rance in his boxing match and his Just Giving page is a link in the video description, helping the homeless with the proceeds of that. Please do contribute if you can. Back again tomorrow at 7 AM with the Transfer Daily. If you didn't watch the video this afternoon, make sure you watch it. It was about Wan-Bissaka and a big update on Bruno Fernandes. I think if you click the eye in the top right corner, you go straight to that video, or you can just go through the homepage. I know a lot of you will have been at work or asleep or whatever. Do give it a watch. The update on Bruno Fernandes is very exciting, and obviously it's got the latest on Wan-Bissaka. I'll see you all in the morning unless something happens a bit later on tonight. Get your subscriptions on, make sure you've clicked the bell, and I'll see you all very soon.